Well, this is violent intruder training or active shooter training, and this is in conjunction with our police department. And we need to learn how to work together to be most effective for these unfortunate incidents where you have a violent intruder into a occupied building, a school, a place of business, or a church, and you have a large number of people, and they come in and they're creating victims. And so we're working on training with our police department on how we can work together, common terminology, common tactics and strategy to do the best good that we can do.
Today we're training at Parkside Intermediate School in San Bruno. Last night we were at City Hall, and what we're trying to do is prepare response training for specific locations that had been identified for us as threat areas in the city of San Bruno. So City Hall was one. Cappuccino High School is another one. We'll be there tomorrow. And then Parkside Intermediate School today. And everybody understands why school locations would be considered high threat areas and areas that the police would need to train on and fire would need to train on for the follow-on response.
So I guess you can go back to Columbine. The big takeaway from Columbine and the response there was the fact that the police didn't go in right away and the medical response was significantly delayed. Nowadays we're trying to insert fire in behind the first cops that go in to not only eliminate or secure the threat, but also provide that immediate medical aid, which the minute these people are shot, they're in critical condition.
Here in San Bruno, we've always had a good relationship with our PD, our police and fire. We run a lot of calls together. We see each other frequently on the street or on various incidents, and we're still a small enough community that we develop a lot of relationships, first name basis. We know who we're working with, we trust each other, and that really helps.
So we train regularly on these type of scenarios. However, to have the hands-on training that this firm that we've contracted with through the generous donation of a grant from the San Bruno Community Foundation, it enables us to have a more realistic approach and the scenario involving makeup and role players and a lot of volunteers that have donated their time to help us get through a real-life-based scenario. It makes it more realistic rather than just training in an empty office building.
The reason that it's important to have an outside entity with some expertise come in is because we're an outside entity with expertise. Besides the fact that this is what we do and that we have the most current knowledge because we go around and we're still students ourselves. So we're learning, we're training, we pass that knowledge on. Besides that, it's kind of like that whole prophet in his hometown thing where people know you. And so people understand that you know about stuff, but they don't really appreciate it like they do when some guy with a briefcase comes in, right? So we come in, we're all experts in our field, and we come in 5 guys with 5 briefcases, and people tend to buy into that more.
Yeah, I've learned some things. It's great training, and some of it's review from some training that we've previously done.
In today's day and time, you can never have enough training.
Yeah, so obviously with YouTube, our response was good, was really good compared to other incidents in the country. But even after that incident, we do an after-action report, we review our response, and there's always things we can do better in training. But training is how we learn how to do it better for the real thing. And training is expensive. So we can't really afford to do this kind of full-scale training on a regular basis for all of our officers.
We've had a lot of retirements in the last few years, and it's getting the younger police officers who don't have the experience to enable them to be put in a scenario where they can think about it and they learn from their actions in these events. So I think it's all excellent training.
It's still an evolving field, and I don't think this was something that people did very much of 20 years ago. Even 10 years ago, it's been, unfortunately we've had more and more of these incidents. They've become more regular occurrences.
It can happen anywhere, it can happen at any time. It's an unfortunate reality these days that we have to train for this. I would like my officers doing training on something more meaningful for an actual community involvement that's on a day-to-day basis. But the rarity of these events cause us to have to do more training as we don't have repetitions in the response. It's a small city, but crime happens everywhere. These kind of individuals that want to inflict this kind of injury to people can happen anywhere in the United States. It doesn't matter if we're San Bruno, or San Francisco, or Oakland. The same kind of people can cross those bordered lines. There's no magical thing that keeps San Bruno any safer than anywhere else. Because we don't really know when these are going to happen, we have to train for that unknown, and we have to train as if it could happen here, even though we hope it never does again.
So I'm finding that a lot of cities need this type of training, and I'm finding that a lot of cities want this training, or they like the idea of this training, but not a lot of cities are willing to set aside the time to send their resources here. And the money, in some cases, doesn't cost them anything, but it's a commitment of time because we're pulling police and fire from out of the rotation here. So a lot of them want it, and all of them need it, but not everyone is willing to make the commitment like San Bruno has.
No, I just want to make sure the San Bruno Community Foundation knows that this training helped us a lot to be better prepared for one of these incidents, and only through their grant could we make this training happen.